Taryn was a simple man living on a mining station that floated in the dark space above a quiet moon. His life was not exciting. Every day was almost the same. He woke up, went to work, checked the machines, repaired broken pipes, and then returned to his small sleeping cabin. He liked the silence of space. It was the only thing that gave him peace after long shifts, filled with loud drilling and endless blinking lights. The night before, Taryn had worked extra hours. A drilling machine had broken down in one of the lower levels. He had spent hours inside a narrow pipe fixing the power relay. By the time he came back to his cabin, his clothes smelled like metal dust and oil. His arms ached from holding heavy tools. He fell on his bed without even taking off his boots. He closed his eyes and let the soft hum of the station lull him to sleep. When morning came, the station alarm woke him up. It was a normal sound, sharp and annoying, but it meant the start of another long day. Taryn reached out to stop the alarm but froze. His hand touched something warm, something soft. His eyes opened slowly. At first, he saw only a faint silver light near him. Then he saw long strands of hair resting on his chest. His heart skipped a beat. There was someone lying beside him. Taya sat up too fast and almost fell off the bed. The woman beside him moved slowly, as if waking from a deep sleep. Her skin was smooth and pale with a gentle silver tone. Her face was calm and beautiful, and her long hair flowed like soft water. She opened her eyes and they shone like polished glass catching starlight. She looked at him without fear. It was as if she already knew him. Taryn's mind raced. He lived alone. The cabin had a security lock. Nobody could enter without his code. There was no way someone could be in his bed. His voice came out shaky. "Who are you?" The woman tilted her head as if listening carefully to his words. She sat up with grace. She wore strange clothing, not like anything he had seen before. It looked royal and elegant, made from a fabric that shimmered softly in the low light of the cabin. She pressed her hand against her chest and spoke in a clear voice. "My name is Mira." Her voice was soft, almost musical. She spoke perfect human language. Taryn could not understand how that was possible. He did not even know who she was, or how she got here. His fingers tightened around the edge of the blanket as he stared at her. "You're not from here," he said. Mira nodded slowly. Her silver eyes moved around the cabin, studying it carefully. She looked at the dull metal walls, the small desk with scattered tools, and the old heater that made strange clicking sounds. It was clear that everything here was new to her. She looked back at him with a calm but serious expression. "No, I am not from here," she said, before Taryn could ask anything else. A sharp sound cut through the air. The station's main alarm started to blare. A red light flashed on the ceiling. A voice came through the intercom. "Security alert. Unidentified energy spike detected. All personnel remain in your cabins until further notice." Taryn's heart started to pound. Energy spike. That meant something had entered the station during the night. The alarm was not a routine drill. This was real. He turned to Mira with wide eyes. "Did you bring this?" he asked. Mira lowered her gaze. "I did not mean to cause harm," she said. "But I was sent here. How?" Taryn asked. She did not answer immediately. She looked uncertain, as if trying to decide how much to say. Before she could respond, there was a loud knock on Taryn's door. Two strong voices followed. "Station security. Open the door. We need to search your cabin." Taryn's breath caught in his throat. If the guards saw Mira, they would take her away. They might even arrest him. He did not know why, but he felt something deep inside telling him to protect her. Maybe it was the fear in her eyes. Maybe it was the fact that she was alone and lost. Or maybe it was because she had appeared in his arms like some strange fate. He whispered quickly, "Hide under the blanket. Do not make a sound." Mira did not argue. She slid down quietly and wrapped the blanket around herself. Taryn grabbed his jacket, tried to look calm, and opened the door. Two security officers stood outside with scanners in their hands. Their faces were hard and serious. One of them stepped inside without asking. "Energy signal leads here," the officer said. "Did you see anyone or anything unusual during the night?" Taryn forced a tired smile. "No, sir. I was asleep. I did not even hear the alarm until just now." The officer scanned the room. The scanner beeped near the bed, but Taryn quickly moved closer, pretending to adjust the sheets. The officer frowned, but did not insist. After a long moment, they stepped back. "If you see anything, report it immediately," the other officer said. "Lock your door and stay inside." Taryn nodded and closed the door as fast as he could without looking suspicious. When the sound of the guard's boots faded down the hallway, he turned to Mira. She slowly sat up again. Her calm face made the whole situation even stranger. "You need to explain," Taryn said. "Who are you really? Why are you here?" Mira placed a hand on the edge of the bed. "I am Mira. I am a princess of my world. I escaped from my enemy's fleet. They were going to capture me. My people used a crystal to teleport me to the safest place they could find. This is where it brought me," Taryn blinked. "A princess. Enemy fleet. Teleport crystal." It sounded like something out of an old adventure story. But the alarm outside was real. The silver light on her skin was real. This was not a dream. She looked at him with honest eyes. "I did not choose this place," Mira said. "But now that I am here, they will follow me." Taryn's stomach tightened. "Who is they? They will not stop until they find me," she said quietly. "They are already close." As if her words had summoned it, the station alarm changed. A new message came through the intercom. The voice of the station commander was clear and loud. "All crew members, enemy ships, have entered outer orbit. Prepare for possible boarding." Security teams to positions. Taryn felt the weight of her words. He had woken up expecting another boring day, but now the entire station was facing an enemy fleet. All because a princess appeared in his bed. He stared at her. She did not look scared. She looked steady and calm, as if she had faced danger many times before. Her hands rested on her lap, and her gaze held a quiet strength. "Why me?" Taryn asked softly. "Out of all places in the galaxy, why here?" Mira met his eyes. "Sometimes fate chooses paths we do not understand. But I believe there is a reason I am here." Her words sent a strange chill through him. He wanted to argue, to say that he was just a worker, not a hero. But the look in her eyes made him pause. She trusted him. She believed something he did not even believe about himself. Outside, the sound of boots echoed in the hallways. Taryn looked toward the door. If the enemy was really coming, this station would not stay safe for long. He was not trained for war. He had no weapon, no plan, but he could not just hand her over. If the enemy wanted her this badly, she must be important, maybe even to humanity itself. Mira stood and walked toward the small window in the cabin. Her silver hair caught the light as she gazed at the black space outside. She could see faint shapes moving in the darkness. Ships, many of them. Her jaw tightened slightly. She showed no fear. "They will try to break the defense line soon," she said. Taryn joined her at the window. He saw the blinking lights of the station defense turrets. He saw the shadows of enemy ships closing in. He felt a heavy weight settle in his chest. "What happens if they find you?" he asked. "They will control the Stargate," she said. "They will open it. And then they will come for your world, too." Taryn looked at her. A quiet part of him still wanted to believe this was a strange dream, but everything he saw told him it was real. His ordinary life had ended the moment she appeared in his arms. "We need to move," she said. "If I stay here, the soldiers will search again and find me. They cannot find me in this cabin." Taryn hesitated for only a moment. Then he nodded. "Follow me. I know the maintenance tunnels. No one uses them except workers like me." Mira nodded once. She moved lightly, like someone trained to move in silence. Taryn grabbed his tool belt and opened a small hatch near the floor. Behind it was a narrow passage leading into the station's hidden tunnels. He crawled inside, and she followed without a sound. The tunnels were dark, lit only by dim orange lights. The metal walls felt cold. The hum of the station's power grid filled the silence. Taryn had walked these tunnels 100 times for work, but this time, every step felt different. He was not fixing a pipe. He was hiding a princess from an enemy fleet. As they moved deeper, Myra whispered softly. "Thank you for helping me," Taryn looked back at her. I don't even know why I'm doing this because you are human, she said. And I have heard stories about what humans do when the stars test them. Terran did not know what stories she meant. He was just one man in a dirty jumpsuit. But for some reason, her words gave him strength. He straightened his back and moved forward faster. Behind them, the alarm grew louder. The station was preparing for war. Above them, enemy ships were gathering. In the tunnels, two strangers moved through the shadows. One was a man who thought his life was small. The other was a princess carrying a secret that could change the fate of worlds. Terran had gone to sleep alone. He had woken to a new path. And this was only the beginning. The tunnel stretched like a web under the mining station. Terran moved fast, his hands brushing against cold metal walls. He had worked in these passages for years. This was the first time he used them to hide from soldiers and an enemy fleet outside. Mira followed behind him with quiet steps. Her long silver hair caught the dim orange light as she moved. She did not ask questions. She trusted his lead completely. Terran reached a small junction and stopped. He placed his ear against the wall. The sound of boots echoed faintly from the main corridor above. Security teams were searching from cabin to cabin. He knew they would check every room, every passage, and eventually reach the lower levels. They needed to keep moving. This way leads to the engineering sector, Terran whispered. Fewer people go there during the day. We can hide for a while, Mira nodded. Her calm face showed no fear. She moved like someone trained to keep her focus even when danger surrounded her. Terran opened a narrow maintenance hatch and pulled himself through. Mira followed with ease, though the space was tight. The sound of alarms still echoed through the station. Red lights flashed through small vents. Every step they took felt heavier. When they reached the engineering sector, Terran pushed open another hatch and looked around carefully. The wide room was almost empty. Only two broken machines sat near the far wall. This part of the station had been under repair for weeks. No guards were here yet. Terran climbed out and helped Mira step down quietly. She looked around the dusty room and then back at him. Why are you helping me? She asked softly. Terran wiped the sweat from his forehead. I do not know, he said. But I know I cannot just hand you over to anyone. You came here for a reason. If the enemy wants you this badly, then giving you to them will not end well for us. Myra lowered her gaze for a moment. Her hands brushed over the strange fabric of her royal clothing. It shimmered faintly, even under the dull lights. I did not want to bring danger here, she said, but I had no choice. My people sent me away during the night. We were surrounded. If they had captured me, they would have taken the key to the Stargate. Terran frowned. Stargate. Myra nodded slowly. It is not just a gate. It is a bridge between worlds. If they control it, they can bring their war to any place they want, including your home. Terran felt a chill move down his spine. He had heard stories of powerful alien technology hidden deep in space, but they had always sounded like old space legends. Now a living princess stood in front of him talking about it as if it were real. If what she said was true, then the enemy outside the station was far more dangerous than he imagined. A loud sound echoed through the floor. The station shook slightly. Terran and Myra both looked up. Through the vents came the distant rumble of explosions. The enemy ships had started their first attack. The defense turrets on the outer ring were firing. Terran could imagine the flashes of energy weapons lighting the black space outside. They are testing the shield, Mira said in a calm voice. They want to find a weak point. Terran clenched his fists. He had lived on this station for years. It was not a military base. It was a mining outpost with limited defense. If the enemy was serious, they would break through soon. He looked at Mira. She did not seem surprised. She had expected this. We need a plan, he said. Mira took a step closer. Her silver eyes met his. I need to contact my people and yours, she said. If they know where I am, they can send help. But I need to reach a communication tower. From there I can send a signal across long distance. Terran shook his head. The tower is on the upper deck. That is where the security teams are gathering. It is close to the command bridge. You will not get there easily. I do not have a choice, she said. If they find me before I send the signal, This station will fall. Then more places will follow. Taryn looked at the dusty floor. He was not a soldier. He was not trained to fight or lead, but he could move through the hidden tunnels better than any guard. He knew every corner of this place. If anyone could sneak her to the tower, it was him. He nodded slowly. Then I will take you there. But you will have to follow exactly what I say. Mira gave a small smile. I trust you. Her calm confidence surprised him. He had never been trusted with anything this big in his life. Most of the time he repaired broken machines and tightened loose bolts. But now a princess from another world was trusting him to help save the station. It made his heart beat faster, not from fear alone, but from something new. A strange strength began to grow inside him. The floor shook again. This time, the blast was stronger. A light on the wall blinked red. An automated voice came through the intercom. Warning. Outer shield under pressure. All crew prepare for possible boarding. Taryn looked at Mira. She nodded once. The time for waiting had ended. They moved back into the maintenance tunnels. This time, Taryn took a different path. He crawled through a narrow pipe that connected engineering to the water systems. It was dark and smelled like metal and damp air. Mira followed without hesitation. Even in the tight space, she moved with grace. She did not complain, did not slow down. Taryn was impressed. As they moved through the pipes, they heard distant footsteps above. Guards were moving fast. A voice shouted orders through the hallway. Taryn stopped at a corner and pressed his ear against the wall. Mira waited silently behind him. He could hear the heavy steps of security teams heading toward the lower decks. They were searching for something, or someone. They will find this place soon. Taryn whispered. Then we need to be faster, Mira said. They crawled forward until they reached a small service hatch. Taryn opened it slowly. It led to a dark storage room filled with old crates and spare parts. They stepped out quietly. Dust floated in the air. A single light flickered overhead. Mira brushed some dust off her arm and looked around. Where are we? She asked. Old storage bay, Taryn said. Close to the elevator shafts. If we can reach the central shaft, we can climb to the upper deck without passing through the main hallways. Mira tilted her head slightly. Climb, Taryn nodded. Yes, it is not safe, but it is the fastest way. She smiled faintly. Then we climbed. They moved carefully toward the elevator shafts. The metal floor creaked under their boots. The sound of the alarms grew louder. The station was preparing for a fight. The lights flickered as power systems shifted to defense mode. When they reached the shaft, Taryn opened a side panel that workers used for emergency repairs. A long ladder disappeared upward into the shadows. Up there, he said. The tower is 3 levels above us. Myra did not hesitate. She grabbed the ladder and began to climb. Taryn followed right behind her. The ladder was long and narrow, but both of them moved quickly. As they climbed, the shaft echoed with the distant sounds of explosions outside the station. The battle had already begun. Taryn's arms ached, but he did not stop. He kept his eyes fixed on the small light above them. When they reached the top, Taryn pushed open another hatch. It opened into a small maintenance corridor near the tower. They crawled out and crouched low behind some old power cables. Voices came from the hallway ahead. Security officers were setting up defenses near the communication tower entrance. They were not expecting an alien princess. They were expecting soldiers from enemy ships. Taryn whispered, There are too many guards. We need to wait for a chance. Mira placed a hand on his arm. I will not hurt them. They are your people. But I need to get past them. He nodded. I know a way. There is a vent behind the power box. It leads to the inside of the tower. I can open it if we are quiet. They moved carefully along the wall. The vent cover was old, but still strong. Taryn removed it with quiet hands. Myra slipped inside first, then Taryn followed. The vent was narrow, but it took them directly into the tower's lower level. From there they could see the main console and a large screen glowing with green lights. 2 technicians were working with serious faces. They were trying to strengthen the signal as enemy ships jammed the channels. Myra crouched beside Taryn. Her silver eyes scanned the console. I can send a long-range signal from here, she whispered. Then we need to wait until they leave, he whispered back. The two technicians soon received a call through their headsets. One of them nodded, and both rushed out to help the security team at the hallway. The room was empty. This was their chance. Taryn pushed the vent open and dropped down quietly. Myra landed gracefully beside him. She walked to the console and placed her hands on the controls. Her fingers moved quickly, far faster than any human. She understood the system without hesitation. It was as if she had studied it for years. Taya watched in silence. Lights flashed across the screen. A strange symbol appeared that he did not understand. Mira spoke in her own language for a moment. Her voice was clear and strong. The console glowed brighter. She turned to Taryn. I sent the signal, she said. My people will hear it. Your people, too. They will know the station is under attack. Taryn felt a wave of relief, but it did not last long. The sound of boots came from the hallway. Guards were returning. They could not be caught here. He looked at Myra and whispered urgently. Back to the vent, but before they could move, the door slid open. A group of armed officers stepped inside. The one in front was Commander Halen, the man responsible for the station's defense. He stared at Taryn and Mira with sharp eyes. His hand moved toward his blaster. The entire station trembled as another blast struck the outer hull. A deep rumble rolled through the floor. Red lights flashed in every hallway. Voices shouted orders through the intercom. The enemy fleet was pushing harder now. The first line of defense was struggling. To hold back their assault, Taryn stood near the large communication console with Myra and Commander Halen. The commander had already sent all soldiers to the docking bays to prepare for boarding. The sound of distant explosions mixed with the steady hum of the shield generators. Taryn could feel the tension rising with every passing second. Myra stood straight and calm. She looked at the glowing screen with sharp focus. Her silver eyes reflected the flashing lights like mirrors. She had removed the outer layer of her royal robe so she could move more easily. Even without it, she carried an air of quiet strength. Commander Halen crossed his arms. The signal you sent worked. Human Command received it. A defense fleet is on the way, but it will take time. We need to survive until they arrive? Mira nodded slowly. Time is what the enemy does not want us to have. They will try to break through before your fleet arrives. Taryn watched her speak. Every word carried weight. She was not just a princess hiding from danger. She understood war and strategy. It was clear she had been trained for moments like this. Commander. Elaine turned to Taryn. You know this station better than anyone. You have worked in every tunnel and every system. If we are going to keep the enemy from finding her, I need your help. Are you ready for that? Turan took a deep breath. He had spent years repairing pipes and fixing machines. Now the same skills might help keep everyone alive. He nodded. Yes, tell me what to do, the commander pointed to the map of the station on the screen. A red line showed the enemy ships moving into position. They will target the main docking bay first. If they get control of that, they can move troops inside fast. We need to delay them as long as possible. That means sealing tunnels and controlling power to slow their advance. I can reroute the power from the lower grid, Taryn said quickly. That will lock down the side passages near the bay. It will not stop them forever, but it will buy us time, do it, Halen said. I will send a squad with you. But the princess stays here, Mira stepped forward. No, I will not hide while others fight for me. If I stay here and they break through, I will be trapped. I can help. I know how they fight. I can guide you, the commander hesitated. He saw the steady look in her eyes. She did not look like someone who ran from battle. Finally, he nodded once. Fine. But if things go wrong, Taryn gets you out. Taryn met her eyes. She gave a small nod. They moved quickly out of the tower and into the nearest maintenance shaft. The noise outside grew louder. The enemy had begun a full assault. The vibration of weapons fire shook the floor like distant thunder as they moved through the tunnel. Taryn worked on a control panel. He pulled out a tool from his belt and started rerouting the power. Mira crouched beside him, keeping an eye on the corridor. Two soldiers stood near the hatch with their weapons ready. Taryn connected the wires and activated the lock system. The lights above the panel turned green. A section of the station near the docking bay went into full lockdown. Heavy blast doors sealed with a loud metallic thud. That should slow them down, Taryn said. One of the soldiers nodded. Good work. But they will not stop there. They have heavy breachers. Mira stood up and looked at the map on a small screen on her wrist. She pressed a few buttons. Their formation is moving toward the southern vent route. That is their pattern. They always hit 2 points at once to divide defense forces. The soldier frowned. How do you know that? Mira answered, with quiet strength. Because I have seen their battles. My people have fought them for years. They are called the Dreth. They invade silently. They do not attack to destroy. They attack to capture and control. If they reach me, they will use me to open the Stargate. Taryn listened carefully. Every word made the situation clearer. This was not just a raid. It was a carefully planned mission to capture Mira. The enemy had crossed the stars. For her, Mira turned to Taryn. We need to reach the southern vent route before they do. If they get through there, they will find the shortest path to the command tower. Taryn nodded and followed her down another tunnel. The soldiers moved with them. The sound of boots and distant gunfire echoed through the metal walls. The station had become a battlefield. When they reached the vent route, they saw flashing red lights on the control door. It was already under attack. The metal panel was dented. Sparks flew from the edges where an enemy breaching device had been placed. They are almost through, Mira said. Tara pulled out a small welding torch from his belt. I can disable their breacher from inside if I can get close enough. But someone needs to cover me. The soldiers took position near the door. Mira crouched beside Taryn. Her eyes followed every spark coming from the breacher. She placed her hand on his shoulder. You can do this. Taryn nodded, then crawled forward carefully. The heat from the device burned against his skin, but he forced himself to focus. He used the torch to cut the wire connection between the breacher and the door's power supply. With a sharp snap, the device went dead. The soldiers fired at the enemy through a small opening. Mira moved quickly to help reinforce the door by pressing a manual lock system on the side. The enemy on the other side began to strike harder, but the door held for now. That was close, Taryn said, breathing hard. Mira looked at him. You are not a soldier, but you act like one. He gave a small, tired smile. I am just someone who knows how to fix broken things. Sometimes fixing things is how wars are won, she said. Before they could rest, the intercom came to life. Commander Halen's voice filled the tunnel. All units, the enemy is trying to jam our signal. We need more time. Taryn and Mira returned to the command sector. We may need you there. They started moving again. The tunnels seemed longer now. The distant sounds of battle grew louder. Taryn could hear the heavy footsteps of soldiers above them. He could also hear the low, strange hum of enemy machines cutting through the station's defenses. When they reached the upper deck, the situation had changed. Several human soldiers were injured. Smoke filled parts of the hallway. Enemy forces had landed on one of the outer rings. Myra knelt beside a wounded guard and helped move him to safety. She did not act like someone above others. She acted like one of them. Taryn noticed the soldiers looked at her with respect. Inside the command sector, Commander Halen pointed to the tactical screen. They are trying to reach the shield generator. If they shut it down, we are finished before help arrives. Taryn stepped closer. He had worked near the generator many times during maintenance. He knew its layout better than anyone. I can reach the generator through the lower bypass tunnels. I can restart the failsafe locks from there. But I will need someone to hold the line while I work. Myra stepped forward. I will go with him. The commander stared at her. You are the reason they are here. If something happens to you, everything ends. She looked him in the eye. If the shield fails, everything ends anyway. Halen finally nodded. Go, but stay in the shadows. They will send their best after you, Taryn. And Mira ran down the tunnels again. The station trembled as enemy ships fired another round at the outer hull. Taryn led her through narrow passages that only workers used. When they reached the generator chamber, the door was half open. Alarms screamed. The enemy had already started breaking in. From the other side, Mira crouched near the wall, while Terran rushed to the control panel. Sparks flew from a broken cable. He knelt down and began connecting the wires one by one. His hands moved fast. Years of work had made these motions second nature. Outside the chamber, enemy footsteps echoed closer. Mira picked up a fallen soldier's rifle. She aimed it toward the door without a single tremor in her hands. "Do what you have to do," she said. "I will hold them back." Terran's heart pounded as he worked. Sweat rolled down his forehead. He could hear Mira's steady breathing behind him. A loud bang hit the door. The enemy was almost inside. With a final twist of a wire, the generator roared to life. Blue light filled the chamber as the shield powered up again. "It's done," Terran shouted. Mira fired a short burst at the doorway just as the first enemy soldier tried to enter. Her aim was sharp and controlled. The enemy fell back. Giving them a moment to escape through the service hatch, they ran back through the tunnels as the station shield glowed brighter outside. Human defense turrets opened fire with new strength. The enemy fleet realized their quick victory was gone. Back in the command sector, Commander Halen looked at them with pride. "You did it." The shield is holding Mira placed the rifle on the floor. She walked to the large window and stared at the stars. Enemy ships floated in the distance like dark shadows. But for the first time, their attack seemed to hesitate. "They will not stop," Myra said. "They will come again. And this time, they will bring more Terran joined her at the window." "Then we stand again," she turned to him. Her silver eyes reflected the bright blue glow of the shield. "You are not just a miner anymore, Terran. You are part of this fight now. And there is something I must tell you." Terran frowned slightly. "What is it?" She took a slow breath. "The Stargate is not just a machine. It is alive. And I am the only." The station floated in the dark sea of space like a wounded but living creature. The shields glowed faint blue as they held against the heavy fire of the Dreth fleet. Explosions flashed in the distance as human defense ships arrived one by one. The first reinforcements had entered the battlefield. It gave hope to everyone inside the station. Terran stood on the upper deck of the command sector. His clothes were covered with dust from the tunnels, but his eyes were sharp. Beside him, Mira watched the battle map on the large screen. Lines of red and blue lights moved slowly, showing the fight between the enemy and the human fleet. Commander Halen spoke fast into the comm line, giving orders to every unit. "Enemy forces are changing their formation," Mira said quietly. "They are pulling some ships away from the front line. They are planning something." Halen turned toward her. "Do you know their next move? They will try to strike from the dark side of the station. It is always their way. They attack the shield from a weak point and send a strike team inside. If they cannot win in open space, they try to win from the shadows." The commander gave a sharp nod. "Then we need to meet them there before they break through." Terran stepped closer to the map. He saw the weak section she was talking about. It was near the lower maintenance ring. That part of the station had old systems. He had worked there many times. He knew it was hard to defend because the tunnels were narrow and long. "I can lead a team down there," Terran said. "I know every corner of that ring. If they send a strike team, I can slow them down." Halen looked at him with firm eyes. "You have already done more than anyone expected." "Are you sure about this?" Terran nodded. "If we lose that section, the enemy will enter the heart of the station." "We cannot let that happen," Mira stepped forward. "I will go with him. The Dreth will send their best soldiers. I know how they move. I can guide the team." The commander hesitated, but he saw the fire in her eyes. She was no longer just a guest to protect. She was part of this fight. He finally agreed and sent a small unit of trained soldiers to join them. They moved through the narrow tunnels with their boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. The lights flickered above them. The lower ring always felt like another world. It was dark, old, and quiet. The hum of the shield generators echoed like a heartbeat. Mira held a small scanner in her hand. "Their ship is moving closer. When it reaches this section, they will break through in less than 10 minutes. Terran checked the door panels as they passed. He made sure every lock was active. His hands worked fast, not out of fear, but focus. The soldiers followed in silence, trusting his lead. When they reached the defense room, they set up barriers and prepared the auto turrets. Terran climbed onto the upper platform to connect the old cables to the power grid. Sparks jumped as the system came to life. One soldier looked up at him. "You are good at this, Terran?" Gave a short nod. "I have been fixing this station for years." "I never thought it would matter like this." Mira stood near the viewport, watching the empty darkness outside. She could feel the enemy approaching. The Dreth moved like hunters. They never attacked without a clear goal. She knew they would not stop until they had her. Suddenly the scanner in her hand beeped. "They are here outside," a small Dreth ship, uncloaked. It moved silently toward the weak point of the shield. It released a group of black-armored soldiers who flew across the distance with small thrusters on their suits. They look like shadows in the dark. "They are inside the outer hall," a soldier whispered. Mira raised her weapon. "Hold position. They will try to break through the airlock first. When they do, they will move fast. Do not give them space to advance the airlock." Doors shuddered as the enemy attached their breaching tool. A deep metallic sound filled the tunnel. The human soldiers aimed their rifles. Terran stayed behind the control panel, ready to close the inner gates the moment they entered. With a loud crack, the door burst open. Dreth soldiers moved like black smoke, fast and silent. Their armor reflected almost no light. Myra fired first, hitting the lead soldier in the shoulder. The fight exploded into motion. Gunfire echoed through the tunnel. The Dreth moved with strange precision. They used the shadows and the corners to advance. But the human soldiers fought hard. Terran locked one of the side doors, cutting off their flank. Myra's movements were sharp and steady. She stayed close to Terran, protecting the control point. Dreth tried to flank from the vent shaft, but she spotted them early and gave a short signal to the nearest soldier. The ambush failed. The battle lasted long minutes. The enemy pushed forward step by step. Even with their speed, they were not ready for Terran's knowledge of the station. Every time they advanced, he closed another door or activated a trap he had prepared. But then something changed. A tall Dreth soldier stepped through the airlock. His armor was marked with glowing red lines. Mira's eyes narrowed. "He is a commander," she said. "Be careful." "He is dangerous." The Dreth commander carried a heavy energy blade. He moved fast and struck one of the soldiers, sending him flying into the wall. Mira raised her weapon, but the commander deflected the shots easily with his shield. Terran's heart pounded. He was not a fighter like Mira, but he saw the way the commander moved. He was heading straight for her. Terran grabbed a tool from the wall, a heavy plasma cutter he had used many times during repairs. The Dreth commander reached the platform where Mira stood. She fired again, but his shield held strong. He swung his blade toward her. She jumped back, but the shockwave hit the wall and threw her to the floor. Before the commander could strike again, Terran jumped from the side and swung the plasma cutter at the control panel above the commander's head. Sparks flew. A burst of steam rushed out, covering the area in white smoke. The Dreth commander turned sharply. Terran swung the cutter toward him. The blade met the shield, sending bright sparks across the tunnel. Terran's arms shook under the force, but he held his ground. Mira rolled to her feet and fired at the floor beneath the commander. A pipe burst open, releasing more pressure. For a brief second, his balance shifted. Terran pushed forward with all his strength and slammed him against the wall. Mira aimed at the weak joint in his armor and fired. The shot struck true. The commander fell back, the shield flickering out. The Dreth soldiers saw their leader fall. Their formation broke. The human soldiers pushed forward and cleared the remaining attackers. The airlock filled with smoke and silence. Terran stood there breathing hard, still holding the plasma cutter. His hands ached from the impact. Myra stepped beside him. "You stood against a Dreth commander," she said softly. Terran gave a small, tired smile. "I just swung a tool. Sometimes a tool can be a weapon when used with courage," she answered. They moved the wounded to safety. Commander Halen's voice came through the cum. We saw the breach attempt from here. You held them. Reinforcements are driving the Dreth ships back. Their main fleet is starting to retreat. Myra looked at the dark space through the viewport. Some of the Dreth ships were turning away, but she did not look relieved. They will come again, she said. This was not their full force. They only tested your defense. The real attack will be far greater. Halen's voice came again. We will be ready for them. For now, you saved everyone here. Terran sat down on the floor for a moment. He looked at the quiet tunnel that had been a battlefield just minutes ago. His heart was still racing. He had never imagined his life would change like this. He was just a miner. But now, he was part of a war. Myra knelt beside him. The Dreth will not stop, but neither will we. I see something in you, Terran. Something strong. He looked at her, confused. What do you mean you fight even when you are afraid? That is the kind of strength that changes the future, she said. Her words stayed in his mind as they walked back to the command sector. The soldiers they passed looked at him with respect. They had seen him fight beside them. He was no longer just a man who fixed pipes. He had become someone they trusted. In the command sector, the screen showed the enemy ships retreating toward the far side of the asteroid belt. The human fleet formed a defensive wall around the station. Halen looked at Terran and Mira. The first battle is over, but this war is only beginning. Earth's command wants both of you on the next mission. We need to understand why the Dreth want the Stargate so badly. Myra stood straight. Her silver eyes shone in the light of the screens. They want it because it is a key to another galaxy. If they control it, no world will be safe. But there is more. There is something inside the gate they fear. Something ancient. The room grew silent. Terran felt a chill run down his spine. He had seen the enemy's strength. If this was only the beginning, the future would hold something far greater than a single battle. He looked out the window. The stars stretched endlessly in every direction. For the first time, he understood that his life had become part of something much larger than he could ever imagine. Mira stood beside him. Their hands almost touched as they watched the dark space beyond the shield. She did not need to say anything. The silence between them spoke of trust and shared purpose. The war was coming, but they were ready to stand together. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the station. The Dreth fleet had pulled back for now, but everyone knew it was only a short silence before the storm. The air inside the command center was heavy with quiet tension. Soldiers moved quickly, fixing damaged panels, checking turrets, and preparing for the next wave. Commander Halen stood in front of the main screen with his hands behind his back. His voice was calm, but carried weight. We have received a message from Earth's command. A new operation is approved. We are not going to wait for the Dreth to return. We are going to move toward the Stargate before they do. Terran stood beside Mira and listened. His hands were still scratched from the last battle, but his eyes were steady. He was no longer the man who had just repaired machines. He had become someone who carried the weight of a fight far bigger than himself. Mira stood straight next to him, her silver eyes reflecting the light from the screens. Halen pointed at a glowing point on the map. This is the Stargate. It is hidden inside the Belt of Silence. No human fleet has ever crossed that area. The Dreth fleet is gathering near it. If they take control, they will open the gate and bring an army. We cannot let that happen. The room fell silent for a moment. Everyone understood what was at stake. The Stargate was not just a passage. It was a key to unknown worlds. If the Dreth opened it, humanity would face an endless war. Myra stepped forward. The gate is older than both our people. It was built by an ancient race. There is something sleeping inside. The Dreth want to control it, but they fear it as well. If they manage to awaken it, they will not only attack your world, they will use it as a weapon. Halen looked at her. Can it be destroyed? She shook her head. It cannot be destroyed. But it can be locked forever if we reach it first. My people created a crystal that can seal it. I carry that crystal now. The soldiers around the room turned to her with respect. She was not only a princess, she was a protector of something far greater. Terran felt a quiet fire in his chest. He had never thought his life would lead him to a mission like this. Halen gave the order. We launch in 1 hour. Prepare the strike team. Terran Mira, you will be part of it. The hangar buzzed with energy as soldiers prepared the ships. Terran walked beside Myra toward the small transport vessel. The engines were already warming up. The sound of thrusters echoed through the metal walls. As they stepped inside, Mira held the small silver crystal in her hand. It glowed faintly with a soft blue light. Terran glanced at it. That crystal will seal the gate, Mira nodded. Yes, but once the seal is complete, the gate can never be used again. My people built this to protect the galaxy, and we make sure it ends here, Terran said. The ship launched with a burst of light. It moved fast toward the belt of silence. Outside, the stars disappeared behind thick clouds of cosmic dust. The area was dark and cold. Sensors flickered. No signal passed through easily. It felt like they were entering a place forgotten by time. Inside the ship, soldiers checked their weapons and equipment. Terran sat quietly, thinking about the journey that had brought him here. He remembered waking up with Mira in his cabin. He remembered hiding from the guards. He remembered the first battle. Every moment had led to this point. Mira sat beside him. When this is over, she said softly, your world will be safe, and I will return to mine. Terran looked at her. You don't have to leave right away, she smiled gently. I have a duty, but I will not forget this station. Or you. The ship broke through the last cloud. The Stargate appeared in front of them. It was a giant ring of silver stone floating in the middle of the dark space. Its surface was covered with glowing lines that moved like rivers of light. It was silent, ancient, and full of power. Even from a distance, Terran felt a strange pull in his chest. The Dreth fleet was already there. Their black ships floated around the gate like a wall of iron. The human fleet formed behind the transport ships. Halen's voice came through the cum. All units, prepare for battle. The Dreth must not activate the gate. The space between the fleets lit up with fire. Missiles, beams, and explosions filled the darkness. Human and Dreth ships clashed like waves against rocks. The transport ship carrying Terran and Mira slipped through the fight using the cover of larger cruisers. Their mission was not to fight in space. Their mission was to reach the gate. The pilot shouted over the noise. We are approaching the gate's outer ring. 10 seconds until drop. Terran gripped the handle near the door. Mira held the crystal close to her chest. The ship shook as enemy fire passed near them, but they kept moving forward. When the door opened, Terran and the soldiers jumped out into the zero gravity near the gate. They moved with thrusters attached to their suits. The surface of the gate was smooth and cold. Strange symbols covered the stone. Mira moved with quiet confidence as if she had been here before. She placed her hand on one of the glowing lines. The symbols reacted to her touch, lighting up brighter. The gate is awakening, she whispered. Terran scanned the area. Then we have to move fast. A sudden explosion behind them made everyone turn. A Dreth ship had sent its own strike team. Black armored soldiers approached from the other side of the ring. Their red lights glowed like eyes in the dark. They are coming, a soldier shouted. The team formed a defensive line. Terran stayed near Mira as she moved toward the core of the gate. The Dreth soldiers came fast. The fight began in the middle of the ring. Blasts of energy echoed through the hollow structure. Sparks danced across the surface. Terran fired his weapon with steady hands. He had learned from the battle on the station. He did not panic this time. He aimed carefully and covered Mira's path. The Dreth pushed hard, but the human soldiers fought back just as fiercely. One Dreth soldier broke through the line and rushed toward Mira. Terran moved without thinking. He met the attacker in the middle of the path. They collided hard against the stone surface. The soldier swung a blade, but Terran blocked it with his arm shield and hit back. The two struggled in silence, their movements heavy and sharp. Terran finally pushed him back and sent him spinning away from the core. Mira reached the center of the gate. A massive crystal chamber floated there, surrounded by lines of light. She held her silver crystal in both hands and placed it into a small opening. The moment it touched, the entire gate began to hum. The light grew brighter. A wave of energy spread through space. The Dreth commander appeared on the far side of the ring. He was taller than the others, wearing dark armor with red lines. Terran recognized the same kind of commander he had faced before. The commander moved straight toward Mira. Tan ran to intercept him. The clash was hard. The commander's blade hit with a force that pushed Terran back. The sound of metal against metal echoed across the gate. Terran struggled to keep his balance in zero gravity, but he held his ground. He had faced fear before. He would not back down now. Mira focused on the seal. Her hands moved over the ancient symbols. Energy flowed through the ring. The gates started to close slowly, but the commander roared and charged at them again. He knocked Terran aside with a powerful strike. Terran hit the wall of the gate and spun, but he forced himself to turn back. The commander reached for the crystal. Mira stood between him and the seal. She did not step back. She raised her weapon and fired. The commander's shield cracked, but did not break. He struck at her, but Terran flew forward and tackled him mid-air. The two spun in the darkness, hitting the surface hard. Terran used the plasma cutter again. Sparks lit the air as he struck the weak point in the commander's armor. The blade slid through the joint, and the commander twisted in pain. Myra fired one last shot. The armor cracked open, and the commander fell back into the void. Mira pressed her hand against the glowing panel. "Seal it now." A beam of blue light shot from the crystal into the core of the gate. The entire structure shook, as if the stars themselves were answering. The Dreth ships outside turned their weapons toward the gate, but the human fleet held them back with a final push. The light reached its peak. Then everything went silent. The stargate dimmed and became dark. The glowing lines faded away. The Dreth fleet began to scatter. Without the gate, they had lost their purpose. Human ships pushed them away from the belt of silence. Inside the ring, Terran floated next to Mira. The mission was over. The gate was sealed. Humanity was safe. Mira held the crystal, now dull and gray, its power spent. She looked at Terran with quiet relief. "It is done," she said. Terran breathed out slowly. "We did it." When they returned to the station, the crew welcomed them with cheers. Commander Halen shook their hands firmly. "You both saved not just this station, but every world behind that gate." Mira stood before the large window of the command center and looked at the stars. The war was not over completely, but the greatest danger had been stopped. She turned to Terran. "My duty calls me back to my people," she said, "but this place will always be in my heart." Terran stood beside her. He had found something more than a fight. He had found purpose. "Wherever you go," he said, "this station will remember you." The ship that would take Myra home prepared to leave. Before she stepped inside, she looked back at Terran. Their eyes met without words. It was a quiet promise. A memory that would stay even across the stars. The engines lit up, and the ship disappeared into the night sky. Terran remained at the